How are all of you lovely people doing today? My name is John. In a weird turn of events, the first video I'll be making about Rave in the Redwood is that the Rave in the Redwood Easter egg has been complete. This has been a very hectic week for me, and last night was the first night that I was actually able to get some sleep, and I took that opportunity, and then I had a full day of classes. It's about 6 o'clock now, and I'm finally at my desk able to make a video about this ending. And it's funny, we solved this Easter egg in 6 hours, I believe. In the time that it took us to solve the Easter egg, I only was able to find time to play the game once for about 30 minutes or so. We worked through this incredibly quickly, especially when you compare it to previous maps. I think Zombies in Spaceland took a little bit around a day, and then Revelations, of course, had a record-setting week. And this one was just like, no, we're done. 3 steps in a boss fight. Simple enough. So anyway, what I'm going to do is show you the ending, and then I'm going to talk about it for a bit.
We did it! Did what exactly? We're still not back in the damn theater.
Where the hell are we now?
If I'm right, I think we're about to get a whole lot more funky.
So this is an incredibly short Easter egg ending, and I guess it's fitting. A short Easter egg ending for a very short Easter egg. And while normally I make videos like this, and I discuss the Easter egg ending, and I explain it, and I share some new theories that this Easter egg ending sparks, unfortunately with this one, there isn't that much to discuss. It's pretty short. However, there are a few things of note that I would like to bring up. The first thing I would like to discuss is what's going on with the soul keys. I had made a video a little while back in which I suggested that the soul keys are something you collect. Data miners had found that there is allocated memory for 5 soul keys. We had received a soul key in Zombies in Spaceland, and now we have another one from Rave in the Redwood. I would assume now, based on this pattern, that we will receive a soul key in each subsequent map. So we have these 2 soul keys plus the 3 soul keys from the future DLC, which will give us in total 5 soul keys, and that'll fill up all the memory slots for the soul keys. And I'd imagine they'd come together for a cross-map Easter egg, as well as a little bit of tracking of who's completed what Easter eggs. That seems to be what's going on there with the soul keys, and that's a nice little confirmation. We also have an understanding of what goes on when we pick up the soul keys. Canonically, when our characters pick up the soul key, the map ends, and then they're teleported to the next map. While in-game, we continue to play through that map, the story is essentially over. You can continue to go on to higher rounds for as much as you'd want, but there really isn't any more going on there in terms of story. There aren't any more steps. There's nothing. It's really just about collecting the soul key, and then the story, you could say, of that map ends and moves on to the next map. So that kind of establishes what's going on with the soul keys. We saw a little bit of that in the intro, but now we see it in game, and we can get a better understanding that our characters do move on to a new area. Let's look at where our characters are moving on to. So we can see our characters get off a train. It appears as though we are underground in a subway. And we get some hints at the time period. There's a little bit of a funky beat playing. Andre even says it's time to get funky. You can look at Sally and see she has a little bit of an afro going. And to me, it seems as though we've now gone back in time. We've actually gone to the 70s. So there was a theory that we would go from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, maybe to the modern day, and then end things in the future. But it seems as though we're just jumping time periods. We're not actually restricting ourselves to an order. So we went from the 80s to the 90s to now the 70s. I do find Poindexter a little bit interesting. When I look at him, he's got like real spiky hair. Kind of reminds me of like almost like a punk thing going, as if like early 2000s punk. But I think by the looks of things, we're actually going back in time to the 70s when things were a bit more funky. So that's a nice thing about the Easter eggs. We won't get those anymore. Back in the day, there used to be a little bit of a hint as to where we were going. Never a full explanation, just a suggestion. Like at the end of the Shangri-La Easter egg when we heard an elephant screech, and then we had to fill in the rest. In Black Ops 2, there really weren't that many hints, especially not at the end of the Easter egg. We just kind of had to guess and take chances. But now we get a better idea of where we're going. And I gotta say, overall, when it comes to this Easter egg ending, one thing that's a little bit disappointing is that it seems as though we're just going to be jumping from map to map collecting things. The mats don't really have a specific purpose or weight. We're literally there just to grab the soul key and leave. And that kind of makes for a little bit of a boring narrative because I can already predict how the rest of the game goes. In this map, we're going to grab a soul key and leave. Then in DLC 3, we're going to grab a soul key and then leave. And then in DLC 4, we're going to grab a soul key and then suddenly do something with those soul keys. It makes the story, unfortunately, a bit predictable. But who knows? Hopefully we can get something cooler. It seems as though Willard Wyler has a little bit of an exterior motive besides just trying to kill our characters. Because here's the thing, he doesn't want our characters to collect the soul keys. He clearly states that at the end of every Easter egg. He's not happy with them doing that. It's not a part of the script. They're supposed to die. But why does he want them to die? Does he want them to die just for the purpose of the film? Or is there something else going on that will happen when these characters die? And that's what I'm hoping for. A little bit of a reveal. I want to learn more about Willard Wyler and what he's actually trying to do besides just make a film. That's going to wrap things up for this video. If you enjoyed it or found it interesting, maybe give it a like, possibly subscribe for more. I'm going to be continuing to cover really just all of zombies. And if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy the next. Have a great day and bye.